This business meeting of the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District will come to order. Mr. Stockdale, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Here.
Mr. Billups?
Here.
Mr. Briggs?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Pastor Jones?
Here.
Mrs. LeBron?
Here.
Mrs. Peak?
Here.
Dr. Sridhar?
Here.
Mrs. Welch-Howe?
Here.
There are 9 members present.
Thank you. I ask everyone who wishes to rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next, we will have our public participation period. During this segment of the business meeting, we will hear all public comment on either agenda or non-agenda items. The public participation period will be for persons who have previously signed up to address the board for up to 3 minutes each. We will have the timer on either screen so you can monitor your time as you go. And as usual, we will limit each speaker to 3 minutes. We ask that everyone respect this time limit. All right, first, Mayar Abdulhadi, followed by Sana Bahadur. Mayar? Okay, Sana Bahadur?
Good evening. My name is Sana Bahadur, and I am a junior at the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine. As the name suggests, CSSM is all about science, medicine, public health, and community. And everything we do here, from classes to school traditions, reflects that mission. CSSM is definitely challenging, but that is just part of the experience. Most of our courses are advanced placement or honors, and if you want an extra challenge, you can take college credit plus classes and experience college level learning while still in high school. Learning here doesn't just happen in the classroom. Many students spend their summers doing research, internships, or specialized programs. This is shown by using our one-of-a-kind careers pathway program. This program gives students the ability to not only learn about their desired field, but receive hands-on experience that a very small majority of high school scholars actually get. For example, Project SEED let students work with graduate and PhD mentors at Case Western Reserve University to work on research projects. And that is all while balancing a busy school year. While on the topic of extracurricular activities, new and various opportunities are sent out every day. And this is all thanks to our one-of-a-kind counselor who works tirelessly day and night to give her students the best high school experience. Without Mrs. Cynthia Dalvin, opportunities such as Minds Matter and Top Scholars are more prevalent. Without Mrs. Dalvin, opportunities such as Minds Matter and Top Scholars would have gone a bit unnoticed throughout the student community. These programs provide guidance to ACT preparation, college application and experience, and much networking. And while CSSM is mainly based on science and medicine, our school offers a unique pathway program that covers for more than just being a doctor. We have a pathway for biomedical engineering, scientific research, public health and policy, in addition to professional medicine. I personally pledged into the professional medicine pathway last year. We get to hear from the American Red Cross and medical students from Case Western Reserve University, and they help us understand what it is like working in the healthcare field. Outside of classes, the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine has a ton of activities. I am excited to be a part of Health Occupation Students of America this year. With funding a bit tight, students have to put in extra work to fundraise for competition costs. Although that is a downside, it teaches teamwork, leadership, and their hard work. The School of Science and Medicine hosts an annual white coat ceremony for all new students. Throughout the year, scholars get pins to decorate their white coats, which soon get transferred onto their graduation gowns. From the white coat ceremony to pathways, summer programs, and clubs like HOSA, CSSM gives students the tools, experiences, and support to pursue meaningful careers in science, medicine, and public health. It is a community that pushes you, inspires you, and prepares you to make a real difference in the world. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Sana. Next, Jonathan Parker.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Parker Jr., and I've had the amazing privilege of being a student at the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine for almost 4 years. Now, the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine isn't just a school. It's a place where students like me and Sana go to explore our future careers in the Pathway program. Now, through our Pathway program, we gain access to professionals in fields like professional medicine, biomedical engineering, scientific research, and public health and policy. We don't only focus on just the science and medicine background. We have different aspects of each career that are exposed. But students, regardless, receive numerous opportunities to explore and experiment with whatever career they want. Students are rewarded for exploring, going about in this Pathway program with coats like these, the white coats. At the end of the freshman year, when a student has fully completed their freshman year at the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine, they are given these white coats to symbolize their growth and commitment to the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine. They are given pins which are earned from various programs and internships that they are being a part of that symbolize their dedication to their career. We also reward students with medaling in pathways. Earning points in pathways can give you a seal on your diploma and other things like that. What makes CSM truly different is the dedication to their student leadership. So we have award-winning careers from our mock trial team to our chess team, which just competed in a national competition. We also host a national chapter of SAD and HOSA, which, by the way, is the first in the district. Little plug there. But time and time again, CSM has proven that we can establish amazing leaders in our community and students that are giving back directly. To be honest, it's just the CSM way. But personally speaking, I've grown not just as a scholar, but as a mentor and leader. CSM gave me the experience and the guidance to fully learn what I wanted to do. Personally speaking, I didn't want to go into the medical field. I came in thinking I wanted to be a doctor, but CSM taught me that I didn't have to do that and I could still be involved in the medical field, like going into public health and policy, which I plan to major in college. But Dr. Morgan, I'm speaking directly to you now. I know we are facing financial hardships, and I ask that you just remember the effects of CSM has on the community and their students when you're making these hard financial decisions. So I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. If Mayar does come, we will let her come in at the end. Famika Bonner is next.
Grateful evening, board members and Dr. Morgan. My name is Famika Bonner, and I am a parent and grandmother of students in CMSD. I'm a resident in Ward 16, and I'm an educator at Marion C. Seltzer. Dr. Morgan, this year as a part of our BBF, you have the guardrails. The first one is safety and well-being. It states, the CEO shall not fail to promote safety with CMSD facilities. Well, Dr. Morgan, our children's transportation is a problem. It is week 6 of school, and students at Marion C. Seltzer are still waiting for transportation. I have my little notebook here of requests, and the first 3 are still waiting for transportation. I have submitted it on August 18th. We are still waiting for students in Power School that are labeled as walkers because of our old address. I tried to give Karen Thompson and Eric Taylor this information back in July. Eric emailed me back and he said they are still working on routes. It is now September 23rd. Are we still working on routes? We have lost a great deal of our students because of the never received busing, bus drivers being rude to families, and not showing up to stops. My fellow colleague, Aaron Inohosa, took the time to go to bus stops and wait with 12 families. Buses was not coming, to stops. She even made suggestions. And I'm just going to read just a little bit of her email that was sent because I don't have that much time. It said, as we are well aware, buses have been an enormous problem since the first day of school. We had students that were listed as walkers because they were walkers to the old school, not our swing site. The transportation department never recalculated their routes to swing site. And for those students that were assigned bus routes, many of them are not being picked up at their designated bus stop. I have field concerns from parents dropping off their students, and Ms. Bonner observes who and who is not getting off of buses in the drop-off lane. She and I are receiving messages via Class Dojo from parents experiencing the same issues. Ms. Bonner and I compiled lists every morning after arrival and talked about issues which are being fixed and which will remain. So I just wanted to give you that little snippet. We have reached out to Eric Taylor. We even went to transportation. Unfortunately, things are still not being done. So I just asked if we can get that situated. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Next, Alicia Dodson. Alicia Dodson. Adrian Leonard Busby.
Good evening, members of the CMSD School Board. My name is Adrienne Leonard Busby, and I serve as an intervention specialist at Mound. I write on behalf of myself and my colleagues to express serious concern regarding the ongoing incidents of vehicle vandalism and theft on school property throughout the district. Despite repeated reports since 2021, there has been little visible response or preventative action. This lack of acknowledgement has left staff feeling unsafe, unsupported, having to deal with financial inconveniences, and increasingly demoralized. As a second-generation Cleveland educator, I find the district's inaction especially disheartening, not only for myself, but for those whose legacy we proudly uphold. We respectfully urge the board to investigate these incidents and to implement continuous effective security measures. Staff safety must be a priority, and we deserve a workplace where we feel protected and valued. Although leadership may consider this a bargaining unit concern to be handled in negotiations, to those of us affected by this violation, it is a matter of leadership doing the right thing. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Leonard Busby. Next, Andrea Dockery Murray.
Good evening, CEO Morgan, Madam Chair, and esteemed members of the board. My name is Andrea Dockery Murray, and I'm an art teacher at John Adams College and Career Academy. And I wanted to speak to you tonight about the urgency about several things happening at my building, one of them pertaining to one of my students. I have a student in my class who's been at our school since the very first day on August 18th. He speaks no English. He's unable to participate in class. I know he feels isolated and overlooked because I could see it in his eyes, even though he cannot speak to me. I tried to communicate with him using the limited Swahili I learned in college, so that was many decades ago, and even Google Translate, but he doesn't respond. He, in fact, might not even speak Swahili. He may speak a number of other languages related to Swahili, but that's not the point. The point is we failed him. He is not getting met with the basic needs. He's not there. And I need to know, what can we do to help this child? He's been in my class, and his future is completely dim. So how are we going to build a brighter future when I don't even know if he's learning because he can't even speak English? So we have to rectify that. I'm also here to talk about the clarity of my school. I know that there may be a dissolution of my building, or we might have to merge with other schools, and I have to tell you that it's very stressful. We almost feel overwhelmed because we have so many students in our school, and now we're going to have more students and fewer teachers. And I know that the new Adams was rebuilt in 2006 to house about 1,500 students, and at one time it even housed about 1,000, and right now we're not at that, and I know that you want to have more than 500 students at a building. However, our community, our families in that building need to know what's going on with our school. And I also want to say that They need to know. We also need to think about how many students are going to be in a classroom. I have several classes of more than 43 students, and 21 in one class and 22 in another class have individualized educational plans. So, yeah, oh wow, it's really serious. And I have a class that, you know, when we have students that may have individualized educational plans and they're not speech related, there could be some adversity in the classroom. And there are other teachers that have 53, 54, and 58 in the classroom, and I really hope that the fire marshal doesn't drive by. I want us to think about the legacy of Cleveland. Remember the legacy of Cleveland when it was Cleveland Public Schools. This district educated the best and the brightest. We had Carl Stokes, the first black mayor of a major U.S. city. We had his brother, Lewis Stokes, Olympians Jesse Owens, Eleanor Montgomery, and even Nick Milletti, who was the original owner of the Cavs. We need to talk about our past, but we need to make it our present. I know we're in a crisis, but we need to come together to come up with a solution and a plan so that this is not just a past memory, but it's our future. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Ms.
evening.
Dockery-Murray. Next, Roberta Cathcart.
Hi and good evening. My name is Roberta Cathcart, and I am a paraprofessional at the newly constructed Joseph M. Gallagher. Beautiful on the outside, problematic all throughout. On our first official day back, I walked into a warm building. We gathered to meet our new principal in the media center, a very large atrium-like room with frosted skylights. We all assumed the AC was taking its time to cool down the place since it was our first day. Surely everything worked like new, and we just needed to be patient. After lunch, the outside temperatures kept rising in the already stuffy media center, with its delightful skylight warmed up even more. When we asked about it, we were told that the AC was controlled by Wi-Fi and the thermostat was controlled by downtown. I still don't know for sure, since getting straight answers from anyone in this district proves difficult, but that did raise a lot of building-wide concerns. If the Wi-Fi goes out and we don't have internet, are we also to assume that there will be no AC, or worse, no heat in the winter? And speaking of malfunctioning HVAC issues, last week we endured classroom temperatures in the 50s and 60s for 4 straight days with zero explanation. My room this week is still at 69 degrees and the AC blows continuously. What little Wi-Fi connection we have there is abysmal. This often limits clever touch usage, a significant teaching tool, but the biggest problem it creates is the breakdown of instant communication between staff. Our phones become useless bricks when we walk through Gallagher stores, so when one of my runners takes off, I can't call or text security because nothing goes through. Additional thoughts to those on, thoughts and prayers for those not on iPhones. My biggest safety concern, though, is there are 0 fire pull stations in the building. You know those in case of fire pull here levers? Those things, not a one. So are those controlled downtown too? Is it through Wi-Fi? Has the Wi-Fi been damaged by the fire? Do we use our cell phones to call 911 and hope it goes through? As for our health, well, we're all still standing post-pandemic, so why not build windowless boxes for classrooms? And since whoever put all that thought into the fire pull stations they installed, surely our buildings are equipped with state-of-the-art air filtration systems to keep us healthy, right? Right. It's not all bad news, though. I do want to use this opportunity to give Ms. Shantina Thornton, one of Gallagher's APs, a well-deserved shout-out. Every day, I watch her doing the jobs of 3 people with intention and grace. The level of support I've gotten from her over the last year and through the beginning of this year is only on par with what I received from Mr. Greg Adkins when he was my principal at Hannah Gibbons. I hope that all building administrators district-wide strive to this level of excellence. I'll wrap this up by stating how annoyed I am to be continuously disappointed by those who make decisions for this district. This isn't just a building issue, it's a whole CMSD issue. My teacher has yet to be issued a laptop. Some other teachers in other schools still haven't received textbooks for their classes, and this is week 6. It is so incredibly hard to believe CMSD cares about the kids when they don't even look out for the educators in charge of teaching them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cathcart. Next, Elliot Kamen.
Hi, good evening, Board. I'm a Cleveland resident and a CMSD high school teacher at Rhodes School of Environmental Studies. I'm speaking today as a resident who plans to have a family and would like to choose CMSD, but I believe there needs to be more transformative change that takes place in the district to improve learning and school culture. I'm speaking today to advocate for CMSD to pilot K-5 and 6 through 8 schools in neighborhoods east and west to see if it could lead to improvements in our district. In the Building Brighter Future presentation, CEO Morgan highlighted that CMSD's enrollment decreased by 50% because of low birth rates. This was misleading because in the county, only 15% of public school enrollment decreased during the same period, but 50% decreased in Cleveland. I think this rationale fails to address another cause for the decreased enrollment, which is continuous sprawl and lack of confidence in CMSD when compared to other public schools in Cuyahoga County. Families leave Cleveland or choose to move or choose other schools in the suburbs or private because they give more confidence that their school district will provide the education they seek for their child. I think a reason CMSD fails to compete and to improve is that we are the only public school system in Cuyahoga County that offers K-8 only and not K-5 and 6 through 8 schools. Even the largest district in the country, New York City, offers K-5 schools and middle schools. As a CMSD high school teacher, too often I see our students are ill-prepared for high school, and I believe this is a result of societal factors and K-8s failing to prepare our students for learning at the next level. As the National Assessment of Educational Progress reported recently, only 8% of our 4th graders and 8th graders are proficient at reading. This does not give families confidence that CMSD will prepare students for the complexity of life in the 21st century. This data shows that our K-8 model is not working and does not keep CMSD competitive with its competitors. I know we have great students, great teachers, and great admin in all schools, but there are too many needs with limited capacity to address the needs of our student body, especially in the large range of ages in K-8 schools. The needs of students in K-5 grades are much different than students in 6 through 8 grades. Having K-5 and 6 through 8 schools could provide a space to create a culture that addresses the needs of specific age groups and foster the growth our students need. As Mayor Bibb said, we see small pockets of excellence across our district. We need to explore innovative ways to make excellence pervasive to increase our enrollment so we can better empower our students, compete regionally, and improve the financial stability of our district. As we consolidate and rethink structure, I ask you to strongly consider piloting a K-5 in middle school because the efficiency of the K-8 is coming at the expense of quality education for students. This investment, I believe, will be well worth it for the future of our children and families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamen. Next up, Polly Carr.
My name is Polly Carr. I'm a CMSD parent, and I write a blog called Publicly Cleveland about schools and public records. Today I'm here to talk about Kenneth Clement Boys Leadership Academy, which is in Ward 10. On the CMSD BBF fact sheets, the building structure of KCBLA earned a score of 48, which is almost as low as it can get. Last May, I was contacted by a woman whose grandson attends KCBLA. She was upset with the leaking ceilings and general disrepair inside the school. She was also upset about the conditions outside of the school. She raised her concerns through the proper channels and got a building walkthrough with Karen Thompson. They took photos and made a to-do list. This grandmother has stayed in contact with Ms. Thompson pretty much every week. Some things were taken care of, and many things on the checklist are marked as completed, but they haven't actually been done. When the grandmother asked if I could help, I said I could ask for public records. So I requested the air quality report that Thompson said had been done. Public records at first acted like they had no idea what I was asking for. When I CC'd Thompson on the follow-up request months later, I got a copy of the to-do list mentioning air quality. I pointed out that it was not the document I had requested. A few weeks ago, I got the actual report from GetGo. That's over 4 months. Last May, I requested the personnel file of the KCBLA custodian, wondering what his evaluation said. I finally got that file a week ago. He started working in CMSD in 2009 with its security. There are evaluations from security, layoff letters, recall letters, and so on. But there are absolutely 0 documents in his file since 2017. None. No, nothing about his being a custodian. I went to see the outside of the school for myself. I had requested the work orders, but and I do this frequently with buildings that have issues, and I've gotten them, I use the exact same wording, but when I requested them for KCBLA, it was several months before they even responded and said, no, your request is too broad, even though it's the same language I always use. So I went to see the outside of the school the other day. There are giant rodent holes, 3 or 4 of them on every side of the building. There's got to be underlying structural damage. These things go like 39 feet. They say on the checklist that that has been taken care of. I saw a groundhog the size of a bulldog. That has not been taken care of, even though it says so on the list. The maintenance of this building is a sign of disrespect to the students that attend the school. Also disrespectful is that there are several long-term subs teaching classes this year. The long-term sub who used to cover music now covers ELA. And I don't know if you know, but in 2025, the OST results for ELA at this school, only 14 students in the entire building were proficient in ELA, but you have a long-term sub covering it who taught music and doesn't have ELA background. None of you would accept this for your children or your nieces or nephews.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Next, Dr. Vincent E. Stokes, II.
Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Reverend Dr. Vincent E. Stokes II, and this is the 3rd time I've spoken before you on this issue. I keep coming back because whether or not we know the exact schools that may close, the weight of those decisions will fall on our neighborhoods, and we cannot be silent. In my Master's of Public Administration program, we talk about institutions as anchors. An anchor holds steady in the middle of a storm. For our neighborhood, schools are those anchors. They are not just classrooms, they are stabilizers. They hold families together, provide meals, host services, and give children their first sense of identity and possibility. When schools close, neighborhoods destabilize. And right now, we don't even know where those closures will land. But history tells us when white folks catch a cold, black folks get pneumonia. The heaviest burden always falls on Cleveland's black neighborhoods. Communities like Mount Pleasant, where my church is, Glenville, the best high school in the world, Huff, Lee Harvard, Fairfax, Collinwood, and Buckeye Woodland. These neighborhoods already carry the weight of disinvestment and redlining. For them, schools are not just buildings, they are the anchors that keep the whole community from drifting. And let me raise this point. The last 5 board meetings have all been on the west side. August at Morgan, June at Gallagher, May at Marshall, and Morgan again. I know, I was there. Meanwhile, there are viable schools on the east side that could host meetings. If most of the closure are expected to affect this entire community, don't you think you should be in the entire community having meetings? Yes, budgets matter, enrollment numbers matter, but public administration reminds us that efficiency must never outweigh equity. A balanced budget means little if it leaves neighborhoods unbalanced and unanchored. So I will be back next month and the month after that if I must, because our communities cannot carry this weight alone. Schools are our anchors, and if the anchor is lifted, the whole neighborhood drifts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stokes. Ashley Mines. Ashley Mines. Brian McDonald.
Good evening, CEO Morgan, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you for granting me some time to speak with you this evening. My name is Brian McDonald. I'm the Executive Director of the Joan C. Edwards Charitable Foundation and Chair of the Board of Trustees of the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine. On behalf of the trustees, I want to thank the district for its commitment to providing excellent education to every student, even as we face challenges like declining enrollment and ongoing pressures on public funding. We believe that preparing our students for the future, especially for the highly specialized careers that fuel Northeast Ohio, requires schools that are themselves specialized. Think of maritime studies connected to our Great Lakes, or music, dance, and the arts that build on our cultural institutions. And at CSSM, a sharp focus on science and medicine preparing students to step into Cleveland's healthcare economy. Together, these specialty schools create a rich portfolio of opportunities for our community. Since its founding 20 years ago, CSSM has been one of the district's most successful endeavors. Our students not only excel in test scores and college acceptance, they're ready to thrive in higher education and meaningful careers in medicine, science, engineering, law, and beyond. They carry the district's mission forward as true ambassadors of excellence. And what makes this possible is our unique model. It's a rigorous STEM instruction delivered in close partnership with the Cleveland Clinic, Case Western Reserve University, the Joan C. Edwards Charitable Foundation, RPM International, and many others. These partnerships open doors to mentorship, hands-on learning, and world-class opportunities rarely found in a high school setting. They make CSSM not just a school, but a gateway into Cleveland's broader ecosystem of innovation and discovery. As the district moves forward with consolidation, we urge that CSSM's legacy, its current impact, and its future potential be preserved. This school shows what's possible when academic rigor, student aspiration, and community partnership align. We believe CSSM embodies the very spirit of the district's mission, and we look forward to continuing this work together, hand in hand, to give Cleveland students extraordinary opportunities to succeed. With gratitude and support, the Board of Trustees, Cleveland School of Science and Medicine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Before we close the public participation period, I'm going to circle back to a few people that were called earlier. Is Mayar Abdulhadi here? Okay. Alicia Dodson. Ashley Mines. All right, that concludes our period of public participation. This evening's consent agenda includes the minutes of the last board meeting and 2 Board of Education resolutions, 2 finance resolutions, 1 operations resolution, 2 academic resolutions, 1 external affairs resolution, 6 excellence and culture resolutions, and 2 legal resolutions. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of agenda items 4.02 through 11.02 as set forth in the board meeting agenda.
So move.
Thank you. Mr. Stockdale, will you please call the roll on this motion?
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Billups?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Or Ms. Jones? Pastor Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBron?
Yes.
Mrs. Peak?
Yes.
Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Mrs. Welch-Howe?
Yes.
Motion passes with 9 votes.
Thank you. The motion passes, the minutes are approved, and the 16 resolutions are adopted. Next, we have a resolution approving the general fund 4-year forecast, which will be presented to the board this evening and that the board will vote on at our October 14th board work session. Dr. Morgan?
I'll invite our Chief Financial Officer, Kevin Stockdale, up to present information on this. As you know, most of the time, the vote is taking place in the board business meeting, which is today. But on this one, we will be presenting it, well, we're presenting it tonight at the board business meeting, and the vote will take place at the work session because of the requirement for the state to have this done by, I believe, October 15th. And so we wanted to make sure we had that timeline, and so we have some updates that our Chief Financial Officer will bring to you. The other thing I would note is, as you know, with our board meetings now, we're doing progress monitoring on our goals and guardrails. This is one of 2 meetings, I think, this entire year where we will not do progress monitoring tonight, but we will have this presentation that is done by our Chief Financial Officer. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Stockdale.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan, and thank you, Chair Ellicott. This is the slide I always start on, which is a bit of the regulatory context, and I usually go over it very quickly, and I'm going to just pause for a few of these items because it is there are some changes this year which are due to the state operating budget, House Bill 96. First off, typically we are talking about a 5-year forecast, and a 5-year forecast is the current fiscal year plus 4 years of projections forward. The state changed the law this year to make it a 4-year forecast, so it's the current fiscal year plus 3 projected years. As Dr. Morgan alluded to, they also changed the timeline. And so what will become a forecast that is due in August and February of every year, this year is October 15th and February, and that's because the state operating budget didn't actually go into effect until just recently. So there's a little bit of a splitting of the difference here from previous years between our normal November timeline and the new August timeline. Otherwise, everything is fairly standard, and so want to jump right into it. There are, to just take a little bit of a step back, there are really 4 different fund groups, and I typically don't talk about this, but the 4 fund groups that we budget for and that we are responsible for, and we're really only focusing on one of these today, and there's a reason for that. So the general fund, the one on the far left, is the one we're going to be talking about. It's by far the biggest revenue and expense source that we have. I also want to highlight a few other areas that are important right now and that have an impact on the general fund. So special revenue funds, these are things like school breakfast and lunch, state and federal grants, and then student activities. Really highlighting that one because what is happening at the federal level especially, where there is some uncertainty about future funding levels, if that funding is decreased, that creates costs for the general fund, or it leads to services that we have to disrupt. And so I wanted to name that here. And then the other 2 areas on the right side, those are really, you can think of those as kind of like your mortgage and your mortgage payment, where we're doing building and taking care of our facilities. But I wanted to highlight that middle category, the special revenue funds. When we talk about school funding in Ohio, it's a state and local partnership. A little under half comes from us and a little under half comes from the state. I highlight this because in the next few slides, I'm going to talk about some challenges that we have on both the local funding side, so 45% that comes from property taxes, and then some things that are changing at the state level that are also causing difficulties for us. The first thing is that we've seen property tax collection rates that decreased, and this is for tax year 24, so there's a delay in when we actually receive the revenue. We saw almost a 4% dip in those collection rates. That was really out of line with what we had seen in recent years, but it is in line with what tax jurisdictions across Cuyahoga County saw. So we know that with the reappraisal that there were some changes to people's appraised value into tax bills, and then we also know that we passed a levy, and so we did see a bit of a dip really in the delinquent property tax collections. We do expect that's going to improve. So we've seen 2 payments now since then, and we expect to return to almost our pre-levels. And so we went from 98% to a bit under 94%, and we're going back up to 96%. I want to highlight here that there is quite a bit of uncertainty. These could be a little bit higher, the collection rates, and they could be a little bit lower. That's part of why we update you twice a year, but I wanted to make that clear. To put it in dollar amounts, it has had a significant impact on our budget, and so last year we saw actual collections about $9 million lower than what was expected. We expect that to be a little bit higher this year, and then improving in the following years, but we're still higher. We're still at a lower collection rate than what we were a year ago at this time when I came to you. If collections improve, we can obviously improve this situation a little bit, but the opposite can also happen. I've previously brought this chart to you as well, and this is our total state funding. To me, this is powerful because it shows in a very clear manner what the impact is on the state, the state's decisions on state policy. So we have the Fair School Funding Plan that the state had been implementing over a period of 6 years. And you can see FY24 was the last round of implementation for it. And what has happened since then, as they have not changed cost inputs and they have not done all the things that they committed to doing, is that we've actually lost state funding. So not only is this something where we're not gaining ground where we had expected to gain ground, but we are now $16 million a year below where we expected to be. The state has a guarantee so that funding cannot fall below a certain amount, which is the amount we received in 2021. What that means is that the forecast presents forward based on the current fiscal year 26 through 29, assuming the state, we are going to be paying, the state is going to be paying the same amount as they paid in 2021. So a very challenging situation. To go a little bit deeper on this, the amount that the state expects the school district to pay for educating students is increasing. And so the way the state funding formula works, it's the state local share, and it's based on property values and income in a district. And what this chart is showing is, so the dark blue or the navy is the amount that the state was funding per student, and the light blue is the state amount that they expect us to fund per student. And so we are going from a period of the state's share decreasing by 21% from fiscal year 24 to 29, so more than a fifth. And their expectation is that ours will increase by almost half. Of course, that's not the way property taxes work, where property taxes do not collect more as property values go up, but is it a perfect example of the state shifting expenses to our property taxpayers and to the district to make reductions. To just kind of emphasize this a little bit more, we know based on some studies that if the Fair School Funding Plan had been implemented the way that the state had been working toward it, that there would be substantially more resources available to our district and districts across the state. So for us specifically, $157 million over the next 2 years, and about $2.8 billion statewide. So a substantial amount that would have been funding that would have been available to us that is not available. I've also shared this one before. This is just another area of the funding formula where funding for disadvantaged students, the state has actually cut the money that they're sending to us. So they've cut by $22 million over a period of years, and we expect that we're going to be flat funded from here on out. So those are the challenges on the revenue side. On the expenses side, a little bit of background. So of course, like every school district, by far the largest expense area we have is for salaries and benefits. As it should be, we're in a human services work field, and we have 79% of our expenses that are for salary and benefits. We know what the increases are going to be for this year and for next year. We have collective bargaining agreements. We don't have anything beyond that because those have not been negotiated. And then we are seeing healthcare increases on about the level of 7.5% a year. For our other expenses, we've really looked very hard at these, and we continue to, and we need to continue to. But to put it in perspective, only 21% of our budget remaining is all this other stuff. So contracts, supplies, utilities, equipment, everything else. One of the areas that we've seen an increase in our forecast from previous forecasts is this area of employee benefits. And just to be candid, employee benefits have been really hard to project the last handful of years. So going back to COVID, employee benefits, health insurance predominantly was something where it changed a lot year by year. And in some years we actually saw negative growth, and that was because people weren't utilizing their health insurance. And so establishing this new baseline has been difficult. We have exceeded our projections for employee benefits, which is what you see here on the chart by fiscal year. But I wanted to highlight that the district has done a lot of work on this. And so last year we brought to the board work that we had done with our labor partners in selecting new health insurance providers. We believe that while we have exceeded where we wanted to be or where we thought we would be, we believe that we would have been this much worse off if we had not done what we had done when we changed health insurance providers. And that there's more work to do here, really. So looking at the forecast as we go forward, we are looking at the previous forecast from last November, and that we would expect, since we were moving forward a year, we would expect this negative number for fiscal year 28. The 3-year box that is in orange is what we were looking at. In reality, this is what I'm projecting now. So we ran a small deficit last year, the $4.1 million. That increases over time, and the cash balance that we have decreases year by year as the deficit adds up. What we've brought to the board, and which is in the resolution, is a reduction plan that starts with a reduction of a $5 million target this year, $35 million next year, which carries forward. This would be a minimum reduction plan that we need to hit, and that will really keep us in the positive for this 3-year period. We know that in reality we have to go quite a bit beyond this, but what you're seeing here is the impact of that, and that is keeping us positive for those 3 years, and also reducing the annual deficits, again, needing to go further than that. I've also showed you this chart before, the green line being revenue, the dotted line being pre-levy, red line being expenses, and red dotted line being pre-levy as well. So you're seeing a time adjustment here, and really what I wanted you to look at is the gap between the two lines, so the dotted lines versus the straight lines. Yep.
Chief Stockdale, I know you're about to demonstrate this through the charts. One thing I did want to point back, if you can go back to slide 17, just looking at the November 2024 forecast. So right when we did the November 2024 forecast, this is right after we passed the levy. If you look at fiscal year 28 in the bottom row, you see that that would have been the first year in fiscal year 28 running a deficit of the $96.2 million. Chief Stockdale did voice this over, but one thing I want to point out, if you go to his 4-year forecast on the next slide, on slide 18, for where we're for October 2025, what we're looking at now, you see that fiscal year 28, and you see the $71.2 million deficit. It's still a negative, but the work that we're doing, and I know Chief Stockdale is about to show this over the last couple of slides, but the work we're doing to find savings, the work we did over the spring, there were savings we found in terms of the work we were doing around student-based budgeting at our school, the refresh. There was work that we did, continue to make cuts at central office. The calendar work we did, you can see that already dramatic drop from fiscal year 28 in the out years, just based on the work we're doing. And so this work that we're doing, the continued work that we do to really put our fiscal operations in line, the work that we've done to upgrade our credit rating, we've shared that before, it's having an impact, and you're seeing it in the forecast. And I know Chief Stockdale's about to show it over the next couple of slides, but I just didn't want to pass that over when you're looking at these numbers, because it does show the work that we're doing in-house to make changes.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Morgan. And then that's part of what this slide really is showing, which is the narrowing of the gap over time. So the dotted lines, a much larger gap between expenses and revenue, and what we're moving toward, which we think we can accomplish and really exceed, is a much smaller deficit and getting toward fiscal sustainability. And that leads us to this, which is where kind of the long-term picture is that when Dr. Morgan started, when I started, we were looking at this this kind of faint dotted line where we were going in to run out of cash in fiscal year 25, very dramatically, and things only getting worse from there. And as you move to the right, you can see that each time we've come forward with the forecast, we've improved our financial forecast and saying how long our cash will last us. And so, certainly we appreciate the community support with the levy, and we have these challenges that I talked to you about with state funding and with property tax collections, but yes, we have made the reductions that have made this possible. So really what you're seeing here is, and I highlighted it, a $518 million improvement in our expected cash balance, and that, of course, is the cumulative amount of those deficits over time that we've been able to address. I also want to put this in a bit of context, and I've not previously shared this, and I think this is really important, but we are we are operating within a very challenging environment, and we've talked about the federal funding challenges and state funding challenges, but just to put this in perspective, because we are in the same boat as many of our colleagues, and so these are the 5 largest urban districts in Ohio. These are my 4 colleagues that I work with most closely and that I do a lot of benchmarking with. And so I brought this idea up to them, and I provided it and gave them an opportunity for feedback. And what I think I presented here is a pretty fair comparison. So what I'm showing is, starting off last year, how many days of cash did they have on hand? And basically, how long could they pay their bills? Cleveland is actually somewhere in the middle. There's really only one district that hits a real substantial balance, which is Columbus. Following that with what our deficit was last year. And Cleveland actually had the smallest deficit as a percentage of budget of any of the 5 districts. Some of those are very large numbers. So we don't want to get to the point where we're running a 10% annual deficit, let alone what that would do for our cash reserves. And then based on their forecast, when will they actually run through the cash that they have? And what you see here is, so basically everyone except for Columbus is FY28. Akron says FY29. This is based on the May forecast. Last night they presented a forecast that showed them running out in 2028. And so 4 of the 5 districts running out of cash, including us, in FY28 without any cuts. And then also recent operating levies. So unfortunately, the challenge that we're facing, our communities are trying to support schools. They're doing what they can. The state government is not providing that support or actually allowing the support to decrease, and so we're all having to make difficult reductions. Some key takeaways for me, I've talked about the Fair School Funding Plan and this just really substantial amount of money that we are missing out on due to the fact that the state is not funding the school funding plan statewide. They are also, in doing so, they are shifting the burden to local taxpayers, either that or causing us to make reductions. Property tax collections are lower than what we forecast, which is happening really throughout the county. We do expect some improvements there, but it's something that we're going to closely monitor. And by the way, this is something which is in the monthly board financial report, which is available for the public to see as well, what we're doing with tax collections. We've been implementing the cost savings measures within our goals and guardrails, which has allowed us to improve our current position as well as our projected position. We are really just in this difficult predicament with all of the large urban districts. And then that we are asking you to approve a forecast which directs us to make these reductions within the board goals and guardrails of $5 million this year and $35 million in next year and following. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chief Stockdale. Dr. Sridhar?
Thank you, Chief Stockdale. It was a very sobering and informative presentation. I'm really, this is a question about the previous slide with the comparisons. I have a lot of things to say about the other projections. All I'll say is thank you for your work. But on this slide, I think I know the answer, but I would like you to explain to the public who's watching the first 2 columns, the column that says cash balance and then the deficit. So when you say, we have 56 days of a cash balance and the year ended in a deficit, Toledo ended the year with an almost 11% deficit and has 32 days of cash balance. Mm-hmm. So can you talk about that chart? And you've explained this to me at a previous, I think last year sometime, quite well, about what is the role of the cash balance? Why do we have a deficit if we still have money in a cash balance? And just walk us through that. If you use one of those other charts that you have before your forecast, that'll be good.
I think on a personal level, a way to think of it is If you take a new job and you have a salary that you're earning and you're spending more than that amount of money, that would be the deficit, so that your annual expenses are exceeding what you bring in. You may have money in your bank account which you can live off of for a while, but at a certain point that's going to run out. So what this chart is showing is how many days of cash do you have based on your current expenses. So really like what is in your reserve fund. What percentage then are you running above or below what you're bringing in, and then how fast are you going to run out of cash? And very, very similar look for really all of the urban districts.
Ms. Welch-Howell.
Thank you, and thank you, Chief Stockdale. The world has changed around us, I think, since what will be sort of the basis of this question. I understand that. But we would have put out there a large kind of long-term savings target related to achieving long-term fiscal sustainability and also the work around building brighter futures. I won't say the number because I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it was north of 80 million if I roughly remember correctly. Can you guys just walk me through sort of the world when we would have put out that target and then the kind of 5 million, 35 million expense targets that we're talking about right now?
I can start there.
Thank you.
And then, feel free to chime in. So and I could bring clarity to some of the things. Last year, we were looking at 3 years out, and there was a 150 million that we were looking at. Some of that of savings we've already accounted for last year. So some of the cuts. So that was when we were talking about that 150 million, it was over the next 3 years, inclusive of this year and some of the work we had to do. So that would have left, if you take, we were looking at about almost, looking at 50 million or so a year. So there is more work that needs to be done. One of the things that we're looking at now is what would it take to get the forecast, when looking at this 4-year forecast, what would it take to make sure that we are in compliance with the state for this round of presenting a 5-year forecast and for next? So this is about the minimum.
Yep.
It is nowhere near the work we have to do.
Yep.
Bringing into line some of those numbers that we mentioned, about 50 million a year, there's still more work that we have to do, more work that we will be doing and committing to doing. This is the minimum in order to be compliant with the state's demand and to avoid that fiscal precaution that the state can do if we are not in the black for this year and 2 years out. Is there any more you would add, Chief Stockdale?
No, covered it all. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes, Chief Stockdale, that was an excellent report. Thank you. Is there any, and I should know this, but I don't, and perhaps you do, is there any hope that the state will revert to the Fair School Funding Plan at any point in time?
I think this is to be determined. We have a state operating budget that runs from this June of 2025 through, or July 1st, 2025 through June 30th of 2027. And so we have work to do in telling our story. And, I think that this slide is really part of that, because all 5, when you're seeing this picture from everybody, it's very clear. I think the state saw the price tag of the Fair School Funding Plan, and there were other priorities that they wanted to fund, but we need to be using our voice to show why this is important, that this affects our communities and our kids. So we'll have that conversation in probably about a year from now, I would say.
Thank you.
I don't see anybody else, but just checking if there are any other questions. Just thank you, Chief Stockdale. I want to say how thorough this presentation was. We really appreciate the work that you continue to do in an extremely difficult environment. And looking at especially this slide that is up right now, we know the vast majority of children attend public school everywhere across this country, and we're not responsible for educating kids for 56 days, right? We're responsible for educating them for a year and then for 12 to 13 years. And I know that this board charges ourselves with that responsibility. The mayor and the state law charges us with that responsibility, but some would say that our state lawmakers have that same responsibility. So what you said about using our voice, folks in the room who are civically engaged, who want to be civically engaged, public education is an incredibly important piece of our society. So I really appreciate the work, and hope things can get better, but we're doing what we can right now until then. All right, thank you, Dr. Morgan. Chief Stockdale, is there any old business? Is there any new business? All right, the next regular board meeting will be a board work session on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at Arnold Pinckney East Professional Center. The chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Hearing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. Good night.